Today on Plant-Based Bistro, burgers are gourmet food. This is easily the best burger recipe I've ever made. To get started though, what you want is 1/2 cup of hot water. To that we're going to add 1/4 cup of TVP or textured vegetable protein. We're going to add a little bit of sesame oil, about 1/2 teaspoon of that. That adds a lovely richness to it. We're also going to add just a splash of apple cider vinegar. And some tamari, but you can use regular soy sauce if you want to. We're going to be using about a teaspoon of this. And then we want to mix this up real good. Make sure all those ingredients get homogenized together, and then we let this sit for 20 to 30 minutes to fully hydrate. While that hydrates, let's get our seitan mixture together. That is 1/2 cup of vital wheat gluten. That's going to be like the glue that holds this together. We're just going to use a pinch of salt, just a little pinch is good. Then we're going to add a few grinds of black pepper, 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of paprika, and 1 teaspoon of beetroot powder. We're also going to add 2 tablespoons of chickpea flour, but you can use rice flour if that's all you have. And we're going to mix up those dry ingredients together just to try to get them all equally dispersed. And we're going to take our TVP mixture with all the little bit of liquid that's left in there. See how it absorbed most of it? But it has been soaking for quite a while. I'm just going to dump that all in there. Probably not going to be moist enough, but we're going to try to mix it up anyway. You can see already this is not enough liquid. So we have about 1/4 cup of water here. I'm just going to put about 1/2 of it in just to see. That's like 2 tablespoons. Still looking pretty dry. Yeah, I think we're going to need the rest of that water. And there it is, the rest of the water going in. And now we want to mix this into a dough. You'll already feel the gluten strands starting to form as you start putting this together and mixing it up. You want to scrape everything off the bottom as best you can. At some point, you just have to use your hands, though. They are the best tools you got. Clean off that spoon, get it out on the board, and scrape the bottom of that bowl. There's a lot stuck to that, so we don't want any of that to go to waste, so let's get it all out. And now we just want to knead this up. We basically just want to get all the bits and the dry and the little pieces all together. Kneading it is not absolutely necessary for this because you want a little bit of a looser texture, but you want to get all those little pieces and the dry bits that are all over the board. Make sure you get all those into the dough. I highly recommend using a dough scraper to keep all the dough off of your board and into your actual dough. Okay, after a few minutes, we have our nice, perfectly formed mound of dough. And what we want to do now is flatten it out just a little bit, and we're going to cut it. This makes 4 burgers. So I'm going to use the cutter and cut it in half one way, and then cut each of those pieces in half again. Now just remember, this dough is sticky. It will stick to the board. It will stick to your hands. It will stick to the cutter. It will stick to itself. So just be careful, and that's why we use a dough scraper. Then I find it's easiest to pick some up, roll it around in my hand, get all the little bits, flatten it out a bit, and then place it down on the cutting board. Use my fingers to press down, and I'm actually attaching it to the cutting board a little bit, but I'm making that burger shape. Now, you can make your burgers a little bigger, you can make your burgers a little bit smaller if you really want to. I find this size is just about perfect. This recipe does make 4. Like I said, I'll admit it, make a double burger later on in the day. There you have the 4 burgers ready to be cooked. Before we start actually cooking our burgers, we want to get our simmering liquid ready. Now I have here probably a good 8 to 10 cups of water. A couple inches of water in a pot is really what you're looking for. And we're going to add to that some tamari. About a full tablespoon, 2 tablespoons wouldn't be a problem. We're going to use some of this organic no salt seasoning that I got at Costco. It's really, really great. I'm going to put in, probably about a teaspoon or so, maybe even a tablespoon of that. Yeah, go with a tablespoon. And better than bouillon, no beef base. This stuff is amazing. Now, if you have a beef flavored style broth already, you don't need it. I'm going to end up using a good solid teaspoon of that, maybe even a teaspoon and a half. I have the water heated a little bit so it'll mix thoroughly and blend and melt right into there. want to make sure it's totally dissolved. And when it's thoroughly mixed and you see no residue left on the spoon, now it's time to put that on the stove and get that up to about a medium-high heat. You want it at just a bare simmer. Set your pan to about medium heat and get out some oil. We do use a little bit for this. Just a few sprays of olive oil or canola oil, whichever you prefer, is perfectly fine. Then we get our burgers one by one. I usually just scrape them off with the spatula, get them into the pan, and just, make sure I didn't misshape anything when I get them in there, and make sure they all get in the pan. That's why we like 4 for this, because they fit perfectly. They generally take 2 to 3 minutes per side. After a few minutes, I like to get the spatula in there, get underneath them, and give them a flip. See that color? That's what we want. There's a little bit of a crust formed on the outside. That is exactly how you want them to look. No over caramelizing, please. Now we're going to cook the other side for a few more minutes. Once both sides are cooked, we want to get those into the simmering broth, and we just put all 4 of them in there, leave them in there for about 20 to 25 minutes. I wouldn't go much longer than that, but definitely don't go shorter. You want to fully cook these through. Alternately, you could steam them, but I actually prefer the simmering method for this. You want this at a bare simmer. No big bubbles, please. When the 20 minutes is up, try to rescue one of those from the simmering liquid. Well, let's try that one more time. Okay, once you have your burger, we are going to store 3 of these in a heat-proof glass container. You can put them in the fridge, you can freeze them if you want to. We're just going to put them in the fridge for a while because I'm going to cook one of these for you today. So I have my grill pan on medium-high heat. Now, if you don't have a grill pan, you can just use a frying pan again. It's totally fine. Just a couple of quick sprays of oil, just for some lubrication purposes. And we're going to take our burger and drop it right on there. You should hear a sizzle. At this point, we're not cooking it so much as reheating and maybe adding some grill marks. That's about it. Look at those little, there's a couple little grill marks on there. That's what we're looking for. Everybody likes extra stuff on their burger, so let's go with some onion. And I'm going to do this in an unorthodox manner. I didn't even peel this thing yet, but I am going to cut a slice right off of there, just like that. And I'm just going to peel off the outside because, you don't want to eat the paper, right? And see that stuff up in the corner? That is compostable. Definitely don't just throw that away. Next is a tomato, and what I like to do is just cut the top off that has where the stem went into it, and I just cut little pieces off. See, they're almost like bite size, almost as if they're perfect for the chef to eat while I'm doing the rest of the stuff. Yep, perfect. And I'm going to cut a nice couple of slices of tomato right off that tomato. I don't go for the super thick tomato. I like more thinner sliced tomato, but that's personal preference. You can do it however you like. Those extra burgers from before, we're just going to put a lid on those and put them right into the fridge. There they'll keep for a week or 2, if they last that. Now we have our lightly toasted buns, our sliced tomatoes, and our onion. That means it's time for the burger, and we're going to put it right on the bottom half of the bun. Notice that size, it's like perfect for these buns. Then I'm going to put on the onion whole, please, the 2 tomato slices, and then, you know what? I like a little pickle with my burger, so I'm going to grab some of these. These are just the cheap pickle slices. I forget who makes them. I think it's Mount Olive, and I'm just going to put a few of those on there. And last but not least is going to be ketchup. Today I'm using Heinz Simply, which doesn't have any extra high fructose corn syrup. It's just natural sugars, and get a nice glob of ketchup on there. Pat that on top of the burger and press it down just a little bit. And there it is, my best recipe for a vegan burger. But what cooking show is complete without a tasting? So let's give this a shot, shall we? Exactly as expected. This is just so amazingly good. Meaty, beefy, burgery. Burgers are gourmet food. As always, folks, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Plant-Based Bistro.